This is the story of a young man, one of perseverance and audacity. Long, long ago in the Mediterranean Sea, Aeneas, having just escaped from the battle at Troy, was sailing at sea. He had managed to rescue his father Anchises and son Ascanius, along with some other men. They were sailing along, headed for Italy, where Aeneas was destined to found a new city. But because of Juno's hatred, Aeolus was ordered to create a storm. When Neptune found out that Aeolus had crossed the line, he saved Aeneas and his men just as they were about to die. After the storm, only 7 ships remained, and they quickly headed to the nearest land, Libya. There, Aeneas met with Dido, the founder and queen of Carthage. Aeneas related to Dido the long and painful story of his group's travels thus far. Aeneas told of how, in the final campaign, the Trojans were tricked when they ascended into their city walls a wooden horse that, unknown to them, harbored several Greek soldiers in its hollow belly. Aeneas related the ordeals they faced on their journey. Twice they attempted to build a new city, only to be driven away by bad omens and plagues. They were cursed by harpies, part woman, part bird creatures, but they also encountered friendly countrymen. Finally, after the loss of Anchises and a bout of terrible weather, they found themselves at Carthage. Impressed by Aeneas' exploits and sympathetic to his suffering, Queen Dido fell in love with Aeneas. They lived in happiness for some time, but soon the gods reminded Aeneas of his duty to found a new city, and he became determined to set sail once again. Dido was devastated by his departure, and after ordering a huge pyre to be built with Aeneas' castaway possessions, climbed upon it and stabbed herself with the sword Aeneas left behind. As Aeneas and his fleet headed for Italy, bad weather blew them to Sicily. There they held funeral games for Anchises. The women, however, were so tired of the voyage that they began to burn the ships. But before they could burn all the ships, a downpour put the fires out. Because of this, many of the travel-weary stayed behind. However, Aeneas, reinvigorated after his father visited him in a dream, led the rest on toward Italy. When they arrived, Aeneas descended into the underworld to visit his father with the Sibyl of Cumae as his guide. There, he saw the future history and heroes of Rome, helping him to understand the importance of his mission. When Aeneas returned from the underworld, the Trojans continued up the coast to the region of Latium. At first, their arrival in Italy was peaceful. King Latinus, the Italian ruler, extended his hospitality in the hopes that Aeneas would fulfill the prophecy that spoke of a foreigner whom his daughter Lavinia was to marry. However, Amata, Latinius' wife, had other ideas. She wanted Lavinia to marry Turnus, the local suitor. Amata and Turnus began to harbor a strong hatred for the Trojans. Meanwhile, Ascanius was out hunting a stag that happened to be a pet of the local herdsman. A fight broke out and several people were killed. Seizing this opportunity, Turnus began a war on this current of anger. At the suggestion of the river god Tiberinus, Aeneas sailed north up the Tiber to seek military support among the neighboring tribes. On this voyage, Aeneas' mother, Venus, descended and gave him a new set of weapons, wrought by the god Vulcan himself. While the Trojan leader was away, Turnus made his attack, and Aeneas returned to find his countrymen embroiled in battle. Pallas, the son of Aeneas' new ally Evander, was killed by Turnus. Blinded by rage, Aeneas flew into violent fury and killed many more. By the day's end, the two sides agreed on a temporary truce so that they could bury the dead. The Latin leaders discussed whether to continue the battle and decided that they should spare any further unnecessary deaths by proposing a hand-to-hand duel between Aeneas and Turnus. However, when the two leaders fought, the other men began to quarrel, and a full-scale battle resumed. Aeneas was wounded in the thigh and forced to retreat, but eventually, the Trojans threatened the enemy city. Upon hearing of the Trojans' attack on the city, Turnus rushed back to meet Aeneas to fight him hand-to-hand. During their battle, Juno finally accepted Aeneas' fate, but she made Jupiter promise for the Trojans to take on the name and the language of the Latins. As Turnus was weakened by a fury in the form of a bird, Aeneas forcefully struck Turnus in the leg, and Turnus tumbled to the ground. Aeneas nearly spared Turnus, but as Aeneas remembered the slain Pallas, slew him instead. This was the story of Aeneas, the great founder of Rome.